All right, guys. So winter has come, camping is over, and I'm gonna save you some money. So I went to Camping World and asked them how much to winterize my sport trek, and they said $250. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? 250 bucks? So I thought about it, and I am gonna show you the cheap and easy way to winterize your camper. And I'm gonna do this for less than $15 versus the $250 that Camping World want. Now look, everybody's got to make a living. I get it. Labor's expensive, help's expensive, everything's expensive. But I'm using stuff that I've got laying around the house, things that I have, and I'm gonna show you what I'm doing. So this sump pump, I dropped in the bucket. And the reason I dropped in the bucket is I'm gonna take this pump and essentially use it as a transfer station to push antifreeze into my freshwater tank. Now, the reason I put the antifreeze in my freshwater tank is I'm going to use the pump in the camper to push antifreeze through all the lines. So real simple. Just gonna put the antifreeze in the bucket. This is a highly specific bucket. It's not. It's from Home Depot. I've seen guys online read about like using funnels to like pour it in. And honestly, like, that would probably work, but this is just, I have a sump pump because I use it to pump water out of my pool. So I'm just using the same sump pump that I use for that. It's just easier to do it this way. And if I poured this in with a funnel, I would just have it all over me, and I would have, well, antifreeze all over me. Now make sure when you do this that you use what they call a food grade antifreeze, or RB antifreeze, pink antifreeze. You buy at the I mean, you can get it at Walmart, you can get it at Camping World, Tractor Supply Company, Amazon, wherever. And I paid $4.29 a gallon, and I'm gonna use 3 gallons. So it's a lot cheaper than $250 at Camping World. It literally took me longer to get my stuff out than it does to do this. So I'm gonna come around the other side real quick. And so this camper has a city fill and a water fill, and basically there's a valve in here that you can see. And so I've got it turned down to tank fill. So I'm just gonna plug in my sump pump, then I'm gonna pump the water into my freshwater tank. So all I'm doing is using this pump to push this antifreeze out of this bucket into the freshwater tank. And if it leaves a little water or a little antifreeze in the bottom of the tank, of the bucket, that's actually a good thing, because you can just take the antifreeze in the bucket and pour it into the trap or into your sinks. So like your sinks and your shower have P-traps, which is a big U thing. And you want to make sure you get antifreeze into those. So that lets you take this excess antifreeze out of this, just pour it in there. It keeps those from freezing as well. Now my bucket's empty, and I gotta run to the other side real quick and get the key so I can get in the camper. Before you turn on the water, I've already flipped these valves, but right there, where I'm pointing, there's 2 valves, one on the top of the water tank and one on the bottom of my hot water tank. And you need to make sure that these are shut off if you're going to use antifreeze, because you do not want RV antifreeze in your hot water tank, because it makes a massive amount of foam. At least that's what I've been told. I've never done it. I've always heeded that lesson, or those words of caution, that don't put antifreeze in your hot water tank. So just trust me, because I'm trusting other people. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn on my water pump, which will make the lights flicker. And then I'm just gonna come over here and run the water until it gets pink. So I'm using the pump in the fresh water tank to push the antifreeze out so you can see the water turning pink. Let's do both sides here. Like I say, I did the low point drains on this the other day, and so it's just getting antifreeze back through the lines. That looks pink to me, doesn't it? To you, Val?
It's a light baby pink, yeah.
And then now we're going to go do the others. Of course, I've already done the shower. The shower works the exact same way. Foot flush your toilet till you get pink water. I've done it. You see, it's got pink water in the toilet. So I just want to make sure that you see your water be nice and pink. On top of this is I don't like to leave antifreeze in my lines. It bugs me. You can actually do winterize your camper the same way. I do like to get a little bit of antifreeze just in case we get a real hard winter or something. I don't want any frozen busted lines come spring. So we're going to do one more step, and I want to show you this step, just something else I do as well. So we'll go from there. So I've already drained the water out of the low point drains. There's not going to be much water, if any water, in my hot water heater, but you always want to drain your hot water heater. If there's a little water left in it, it's okay. You just don't want a lot of water left in it, because that's not okay. So this is basically the plug in the bottom of the hot water heater, and you take this out. That's what they call an ionizing rod. I never can say that word.
Why don't you spell it? We'll put it in the text.
You spell it. And so I just take this rod out, and this basically will let the water out of your hot water heater. Like I say, I've drained this already. I just wanted to show you this. Now I am going to show you a trick. This is something I kind of figured out when putting these things back in, is that a long screwdriver makes your life so much easier, because my hands won't fit in here. And so if I try to stick my hand in there and twist that, I can't do it. But what I kind of figured out, thanks to my Georgetown, is I can take this screwdriver and push on it and get my thread started. And now I can tighten this thing back up. And I know somebody in the comments is going to say, well, you didn't put any Teflon tape on that. I know there's no Teflon tape on it. It's probably not going to leak, and if it does, I'll put Teflon tape on it later. So there. So you just want to get this tightened up. And this filter wrench, I'm telling you, it's like the best $8 you can spend. Nice and straight. Hopefully not cross-threaded. No, it's not. It's not cross-threaded. So, all right. So like I told you, I'm gonna do one more step. And then basically I'm just gonna blow it out with my air compressor. I'll say this on your air compressor. Make sure you have a pressure regulator. You don't want to put more than like 30 or 40 pounds of pressure in it. So like my pressure regulator for my water is set at 45 pounds. So 45 pounds of air and 45 pounds of water is the same. Fun fact, I had a kid working for me one time, and we had an air compressor, and it had 175 PSI in it or whatever it was. And I said, man, that thing's got 175 pounds of air in it. And he stopped and he went to grab it. He said, well, I can't carry that. And he thought for a minute, and he's like, wait, it's 175 PSI of air. So he had a big laugh about that. Anyway, so I'm just gonna put my string back on. One thing, if you want to leave this rod out, if you're super worried about it, and I've done this before, but this is going to a storage unit. I don't want like mud daubers or something to get in my hot water tank. You can actually lay this ionizing rod in the bottom here, and that will leave your water tank open if you want to do that, if you're worried about it. Mine goes to a storage unit. I don't want critters to make a home in my hot water tank, so I'm just going to put that back in there. And all this stuff that I've had that I'm using, so you know, it makes it a little bit cheaper for me, but if you buy it once, you can kind of use it again. But this is basically a little air chuck that screws in your garden hose area, and I'm just going to screw this in and then hook my air compressor to the camper, and then I'll just blow the lines out and we're done. So I'm just going to unhook my line here, my garden hose. It says like it's really important here. You know, these how-to videos, it's the comments that we seem to get are always pretty interesting. But that's not how I do it. I understand. That's okay. I don't do everything the way you do it. You're not going to do everything the way I do it. That's okay. It makes America great. So, this is the worst air hose known to man. It's stiff plastic. I need to get a better one. But I'm gonna plug this guy in here. My pressure regulator, it's built into this, is set to 30 pounds, which is more than enough to blow out the lines. I'm gonna go on and plug in my air compressor. It's gonna get noisy in a minute. Sorry about that. I'm gonna take this guy here, which just has a little clippy end that will go on my thing in my camper. So I'm just gonna take this clippy end. I'm gonna flip this to city water. Back on city water. I'm gonna hook that up. And now I've got air pressure on the camper.
Hey, that's almost as easy as IKEA instructions.
Oh. I'll turn this on so it'll get noisy. So we close the door because it's loud outside. But I'm just got air pressure on, so now I'm just gonna. Now all the antifreeze. Oh, I got my water pump on. All the antifreeze that was in my line a while ago, I'm blowing it out. So any moisture that would be left in my line would be antifreeze. But when we get in the spring, it won't have all that antifreeze that's set all winter. I just think it's better. It's more of a, maybe it's more of a personal preference. Like Venture, who built this one, actually said that they gave you two different methods to winterize your camper. One was using air, kind of like what we're doing now, and one was using antifreeze, which we did before. So we're doing both. It's overkill a little, I know, but again, when I go camping in the spring, I'm gonna have something broken. I don't want to do water line. So if we're gonna park this thing away, everything will be good to go on it. But something will be needed to fix come spring. I just don't want to need a water line that froze and busted this winter. So I'm running this enough to make most of the moisture out of it. All the antifreeze, like these, it's on. You can hear the air coming through it. There's still a little bit of water in it. That's okay. So not water, but antifreeze. I'm getting most of it out. I'm not real worried about, like, if it's got some in it, it's not that big of a deal. One thing I will say is, before you open your hot water heater back up in the spring, make sure you run enough water through it that you got all the antifreeze out. You don't want antifreeze in your hot water heater. It's just going to cause you to have nice foamy water for the significant camping season. It's noisy. Sounds like somebody had a bad burrito.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Sounds like somebody drank Old Milwaukee while eating burritos.
Oh my god. Something's not right with you.
And if you like Old Milwaukee and burritos, something's not right with you. I'm gonna leave antifreeze in my black tank and my gray tanks. I'm not so much worried about my gray tanks, but on my black tanks, I don't want to store it this winter completely dry, because if there's any kind of sludge left in your tank from the camping season and it becomes completely dry, then you no longer have sludge, you have a brick, which can cause you, you know, the tower of poo that people always talk about. You don't want that. So a little moisture in your tank keeps things from setting up. So this was $4.29 at Camping World, which made me ask, how much do you guys charge for camp? You know, the winterizer camper is $250. I used $12, and if you bought the parts that I used, you might spend $35 on everything, minus the air compressor and the sump pump and the garden hose, because that's just stuff I have. But yeah, and then I'm cheap enough that I'm actually going to drain what's left of this antifreeze that's in my fresh water tank back into that highly specific Home Depot bucket. It's not specific at all, and pour it back in the jug, and then I'll use it again next year. Hey, if you guys found this video helpful at all, like and subscribe, because you're still here, so you must like us. I appreciate it. Comment below. Tell me what I did wrong, because I know some of you think I did something wrong. I probably did, and it's okay. Or tell me how you do it. Either way, say something. We'll say something back. Hope you're doing well. See you on our next adventure.